Hey everyone, Summer here with AstariaSen. I'm getting ready to do a VR on Most Unusual Decks. It was originally done by Tarot Map. A lot of people have done this VR. I just haven't gotten around to it. It's a couple months old. I think the earliest one I've seen so far, like the newest one I've seen so far, is Boho Tarots. There's lots of people with some really cool, unusual decks. So check out this hashtag, even if you don't want to do a VR to it, because there are some really neat decks out there. So unusual decks. I don't really know if my decks technically qualify as super unusual. I will do my best. I just picked out what I thought was unusual in my collection. I haven't been collecting tarot as long as some of the others, so I don't have some of the extensive avenues for tarot that other people do. But that's not, it's not a big deal. It's just unusual where I would see unusual. So I decided to go ahead and do a VR to this hashtag, and I hope you enjoy it. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So let's go ahead and get started. I have 1, 2, 3 tarot decks and 1 oracle deck, so not very much. We're going to go ahead and start with the oracle deck that I consider unusual. It is the Fairy Enchantment decks by Ian Daniels. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that this is an indie deck. It's not made in the US, so you have to wait a while to get it. I think he's still making it currently, as of this video anyways. And I've done videos in the past with this where you find your soul cards based off your sun, moon, and rising signs. So if you want to check those out, you can. They're in my past videos. I can go ahead and maybe try to link one up here, and then you can just follow along from there. I'm not doing the soul card videos anymore. I actually love these cards. They are original artwork for Ian Daniels. They are unusual in that they are kind of used as spell cards. Like the backs are all different, and it has a unique take on it because they aren't traditional even for oracles. You find your soul cards, okay, your sun, moon, via your sun, moon, and rising sign, and say you have, I don't know, we'll go with these 3 right here. I'm just using them as an example to give you an idea of how this works. So here's your 3 soul cards. Art is phenomenal, right? Beautiful artwork, beautiful, amazing artwork. But what makes this deck really, really unique and fantastic is the backs and what you can do with these cards, okay? So you have the name of the card, then you have the words that go with the card, you have the fairy rune that goes with the card, and then you have correspondences that go with the card. So if your sun, moon, and rising, if these are your soul cards, okay, or say you pull these in a card reading, then these are the correspondences you can use in the spell or energy work for that reading. So say if you're doing a weekly reading and you pull 3 cards, during the week, these are your correspondences that you would want to work with in your energy or spell work. And then the runes, the fairy runes, you can put them together to make sigils for your work for that week. And then the words right here, now here's where it gets really, really interesting. So, and he explains this in his book. But basically, when you lay the cards out, the first card is the first word, the second card is the second word, and the third card is the third word. And it makes like a little mantra, so to speak, for your spell or your day or your week or your energy stuff. So if this one was your first card, it would be activate. If this was your second card, it would be elemental. So we have activate, elemental, and then your third card would be vitality. So that would be like your saying for the week or the day or for that spell that you're using. It would be activate, elemental, vitality, okay? But even cooler, if you didn't like that, say that doesn't work for you, it's not quite right, you can switch the cards around to create something else. And it can be conceal, concentrated, vitality, or let's put this one first. It could be Invigorate, Elemental, Magic. See, I like that one. Invigorate, Elemental, Magic. So that might be something that I write down on a piece of paper and keep it on my altar, or stick it in my tarot journal, or stick it in my spiritual journal, or just stick it someplace that I could just see it for the day or for the week and just remind myself of those cards and of the work that I did and the energy and the intent I put into it. So these are really amazing cards. The downside, honestly, is the book. Now, it's not what is in the book that is the downside. It is that this book, this poor book, which I love, is falling completely apart, like literally falling apart on me. So every time I open it, more things fall out of it, and it makes me so sad because it's such a beautiful and amazing deck. And the book, this little tiny book, just does not stay together. And so opening it every single time, I have to make sure that I'm not losing the pages in it, because there is a lot of information in this deck. Like, it's extremely dense. There's so much going on. Not only do you get the meanings of the cards, you get sigil stuff, you get spell work, you get your soul card stuff. I mean, there's just so much that is in this deck. It's amazing how much is in this deck. But yeah, so this is my most unusual oracle deck that I have. I'll leave links in the description to everything that I can. So again, you know, beautiful deck, has a really, really amazing art quality to it, and cool spell stuff that I think is just fantastic. All right, let's see. The next one that I have that is unusual is my Royo Dark Tarot. There are only a handful of artists that I've followed for a lot of my life before I even knew about tarot. I didn't even know they did tarot. And one of them happens to be Louise Royo. Now, the other one that I like is a fairy artist. Her name is Nene Thomas. She has not done a tarot deck as far as I know, or even an oracle deck as far as I can tell. But Louise Royo, who I've been following probably since I was a teenager, he did do maybe a couple tarot decks, but this is the one I picked up recently. I actually have not read with it, but the interesting thing about this deck, it does have like it is kind of like Rider Waite, but it's also a little off from Rider Waite, okay? Because, and this deck is very provocative. It has a lot of provocative images in it. It has some sexual connotations with it that involves females and even monsters. So if you're going to pick up this deck, be aware of that. And I'm going to show you some pictures. So if you are interested in seeing those pictures, just go ahead and skip on through to the next deck. But for now, what I wanted to talk to you about is that, like, the images. What makes this deck unique is the images and how they portray parts of the tarot. For example, this is strength. Like, that is very empowering as a female. Like, it's so empowering, right? And then the kings. The kings are very interesting. They're very masculine, very dominant to women kind of thing. Like, you could tell in the strength card, Louise Royo isn't all about guys being dominant on girls. Like, this girl's going to take his head off if he even thinks about whatever it is he's going to think about, right? Like, she's very adamant. She is a strong woman, and she knows it, okay? So it's not like Royo portrays women a certain way or anything like that. So please don't think of it that way. I can't explain it any better than that. Just his art is unique, and I love his art. But his kings are different. So his queens are very strong. Okay, you can see they're very strong. That's one of his queens. This is the Queen of Wands. Okay, look at that. That's phenomenal, right? But then you have like the King of Wands, which a little more provocative, a little more kingy, more masculine, more domineering masculine type. Like they're not chained up or anything like that. They're more like they're with him. I guess they might be chained to each other. So there's a weird aspect that goes with that. But he's definitely a dominant male for this, and he's sitting on his own throne. But the kings are very, very, very cool. Let's see. I want to find another. I'm just going to kind of show you some of the art. So some of it's provocative, so just know that. But it's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. This is the High Priestess, and she is stunning. She's stunning. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's just, his art is so pretty and so amazing. And I love the women. Honestly, I do. I love the women in his cards. They are empowering, and they are in their element, and they are just rocking it. And that's what I love about this deck. So is it technically non-traditional? I don't think it's super non-traditional necessarily. It's way more risque, and not just like a sex deck or sexual magic deck, but more in the intent behind the cards. There is a very infatuated element that goes with these cards, and the artwork is just stunning. And Royal's artwork is always stunning. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this deck. There's a lot more risque cards in here than even I anticipated, and I like risque. So just be warned if you plan on picking up this deck. All right, up next is another deck it's kind of outside the norm. It's the Fairy Tarot. And this one, I still think it falls on, well under the Rider-Waite. What is outside of the norm for me for this deck is this deck has a different energy to the art and to how it's read. It doesn't, I don't know, it's fun. It's a mischievous deck. This deck hates being stuck in a box. Okay, like the lid will continually pop open no matter what I do, so I can't keep it in a box. Also, if it doesn't want to read well in a reading, it just won't. It's like a rebel deck. I can't even explain how it is a rebel deck. And anybody else who has this deck, if you know what I'm talking about, just tell me in the comments, because sometimes I feel like I'm crazy with this deck. But the truth is they are so... they're just so mischievous. And I do like the artwork. I like that it's all very fey. It has hearts and leaves and bells, and acorns instead of swords and wands and the traditional suits. I do feel like it still falls within the Rider-Waite realm, but I feel like there can be a lot more intuitive going with this. Like, I don't do the pips very well, honestly, and it feels more pippish to me than a lot of the other decks that I own. And I'm not a super big fan of pippy stuff, but it is beautiful and it is fun to read when it decides it wants to play. Which it is always in the mood to play, but not necessarily the way you want it to. So yeah, it's just a cool deck. The artwork is pretty, and it has a very unique feel energetically to it. So yeah, this is one of those ones. And then I have one more deck, and this one is probably my most unique deck out of my tarot decks. And it's unique in so many ways. But what makes it unique, and some of you guys know this deck, it is the Fairy Lights Tarot. It is a deck, it is pretty, it's gorgeous, but it is a deck that is like split in two. Now let me explain that. the artist took one image, like created an image, cut it in half, and one is one kind of card, like say it's a major arcana, and another one is not a major arcana, it is the Two of Swords. Or maybe it's the King of Wands and the Three of Pentacles that go together to make a full picture. That means reading with this deck is a little bit longer than normal, and in order to get like a full picture, you need the sister card that goes with each one, okay? Now I'm going to show you a few of the pictures because they are unique, and they are fae. They are very, very, very fae. But when you're reading intuitively with these, like there's something, let me see if I can find it. There's something about the fae way with these cards. Like, I have to find a picture in order to show you what I mean. Okay, so this is something right here. So fae, in the fae realms and stuff like that are here. There's a blurred line, right? The fae are into being in the doorways and in-betweens of times and space and areas and everything. They're the in-betweens, and they're in and they're out, and they're not always visual. They're not always clear. They're not always clean shaped and sharp and everything else. And I feel like this artist gets that. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of amazing, amazing fairy artists out there. But where fae land in my world, where there's that in-between, and they kind of hover in that in-between of being seen and not seen, and when you can see them and why you can see them, and the mischievousness that goes with the fae and stuff like that. This artist almost like nails it on the head in how I perceive them. So this is the Nine of Wands. So I want you to take a look at this card real quick, because here's what's interesting. So you have things that are in and out of everything. In and out of focus, in and out of clarity, in and out of being outside the wall and also inside the wall. So there's this really cool aspect, and you can see like some of the blurred stuff on the edges. And there's this really cool aspect to the art and to the cards that comes with this. And, you know, this is not the only card it does it with. It doesn't do it with every single card. Not every single card has that aspect to it. But because I'm an intuitive reader, there is a sense of outside energy that comes with reading these cards that I find very, it's not empowering, but you have to look real close. You have to really pay attention to what the card is, what it's saying, and not just the meaning of the card via traditional Rider-Waite, but also the art on the card and the double card that goes with it, okay? Because it's a doubled card. There is another card in here. And of course, when you're looking for cards, you can never find the one that you're looking for. It's always the very last one you're looking for, right? So, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done this so much on the fly as I did. I didn't mean to do it so much on the fly, but I could have had it together and ready and looking and waiting kind of thing. Here we go. This is one of the, okay, so this is it. So I'm going to show you the picture, and I'm going to show you the blur, okay? So this is the full picture. It's one of the ones that is a full picture, okay? That's a full picture. It's a major arcana with a minor arcana, and you can see how they go together, right? So you have the suns and the waters and the road leading to the next card. How interesting is that, right? Now here's something even more interesting. Remember that in between, that not quite there, but there kind of feel to it? Look at this bridge. This bridge is almost see-through. It's almost not there. It's almost not in a physical form, right? and these things going around, some of them are very clear and others are blurred and you're not quite sure if they're going to make it to you and stuff like that. So there's this in between, as well as the full picture of the cards that goes with reading with this deck, which is why I find it so fascinating to read with. And honestly, people I have read for using this deck have enjoyed the reading and felt a quality to the reading that I haven't been able to give with other decks. So this is a very unique to read with, very unique even intuitively to read with, and it's probably my most unusual deck that I own. So yeah, that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to watching any other unusual deck videos that come about. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a very great day. Links are down in the description.